Howdy all, happy Pride Month. Over the past few videos I've seen many a comment asking me about my mag fashion, and as it is the season of corsets, I thought it high time to go through my own, showing off some of my favourite fashions for mag, but also a few other frames that I'm quite fond of. Starting off with my main channel fashion then, I really wanted to go for a nice, simple and sleek look, something easily recognisable. In general, I'm not the biggest fan of clutter and visual noise, which is why I tend to stay away from cosmetics like the Wrapped Wing and Seraphire ephemera, as if it was either the metallic arms or ghostly particles it would be fine, but I find both is a little bit too much visual noise, at least for me. In general, I'm not the biggest fan of mag's helmets. I think the Prime helmet looks like it has mandibles, which always puts me off, and I don't like how blocky the Coil and Gauss helmets are. I really do like mag's regular helmet, but my favourite by far is the Numina helm. I love the floating faceplate, and I think the metallic, almost floral patterns colour very nicely. But the floating collar is the real selling point here. I just love it. The fact that the faceplate and the collar have their own rhythm, making it look like they float around with a little lag to the rest of the frame, really sells the whole magnetism theme here. Now, for armour, again, I like to remove clutter. The most armour I use is the Prime Details, although I do have my eye on the Riv mini set, but that requires me to play Conclave to get. The Sandana is the first Hydroid item on the list, being the Rapala Sandana. I adore this cape and use it on a fair few frames. I find it fills that nice niche of just a big cape that most other Sandanas fail to fill, at least for me. I know that Tenogen can turn quite a few people away due to the price tag, which, fair enough, but before I got the Rapala, I was using the Azava, I think that's how it's pronounced, Sandana, which is the closest to being a generic full cape. As for my other mag fashions, the two that featured most have been this, my mag Graxx fashion, and this, my mag Alata fashion. Starting off with the Graxx fashion, this skin is gorgeous. Again, trying to cut down on clutter where possible, I'm going for what I realise is a very similar colour scheme here. I just love these tube elements right above the hip region, and so follow that theme through with the Rafk Tag Sandana. I'm not the biggest fan of the metallics on the Sandana, but I do love that weird ticking gauge that spins at the top. It adds a nice little bit of movement to the look. I chose to keep the Prime Details toggled off for this one. It is a Grenier theme, so having weird floating Orokin relics didn't really fit there. The ephemera is the Wire Matrix from last season's Nightwave. I was really iffy on this at first, but seeing the way the pattern snakes down across the helm, I just had to. I would really like to one day go back and do a full Kuva fashion with the Graxx skin, but the Kuva colour theming isn't exactly one I have the most experience with for now, so I'm going to continue messing and tweaking before I show any of my findings for that. The last fashion is the Alta one, and this is for my Toxin Ward mag. As you can tell, I gave it a colour scheme to match. I love the floral petal imprints on the outer thigh. They remind me of Saren a little bit, hence why I chose to use this particular skin for that particular build. The Pakal shoulders fit really nice to continue that metallic around mag's forearms up onto the shoulders and slightly close to the head. The metallics on the skin in general are on point, so paired with the Sandana and leg armour that also bring a lot of metallics, such as the Binu and Perrin respectively. I love this look. I love the desaturated greens combined with those metallics for a little bit of pop, and the helm on this skin just looks gorgeous as well. Overall, very happy with the design here. Next up is my Dagath fashion. This is adapted from this wonderful post on the Warframe Runway subreddit. I loved the colour scheme, but wasn't the biggest fan of some of the armour choices, notably the chest. Dagath's general aesthetics screamed to me like an infested Warframe, so the Lycanblade ephemera and shoulder armour really fit here, matching the horse skull on the other shoulder. I really love the colour palette. The base palette of Lycanblade set has a fairly similar colour scheme to the Saturn 6, and so I was half tempted to use the Saturn 6 armour set here, but I really like the shoulders I already have going, and I find that the chest and legs are a little bit too bulky. Harkonar chest is the ideal look here. Just the right mix of bulky but bringing in that hint of movement, carrying on that Grineer theme while not taking up too much of the torso like the Saturn 6 set would. I also think that the alt helmet is just really nice. I almost always run it over the base helm. I love the cloth layers covering the front of the face, and also it means you can become an evil and intimidating unicorn. Next up is my Oxidized Volt, and I absolutely adore this fashion. The two-tone gradient metallics on the Rajian skin meant that I just had to do something cool with it. And since copper is using cables to conduct electricity, I thought initially I might try some two-tone oranges. But when I was playing with the colours, I hit the cyan at random, and man does it look good. You'd be surprised how many good colour schemes you can actually get just from slapping random a few times, saving the colours you like and then fitting them into a fashion later. I will admit this is one of the busier fashions. The Kaminari ephemera's constant crackling electricity and energy, and the Tomoe signal all make for a very busy look, at least for me, but I think it works without being too overcrowded. The shoulders are just so damn annoying. What you're seeing here is the full fashion version. However, I normally run this with only the Asperapex armor on the left shoulder and leave my right arm empty, because otherwise when you aim, you can't see anything through those big old arms. I would use any other armor set, however I haven't found one with the same two-tone metallic gradients that I really like. Either way, I am very proud of this Volt fashion. It's probably the fashion with the most visual noise, but I find it easy enough to look at. Next up is my Femme Hydroid. What started off as a joke about how he has a double thigh slit dress just led me to lean fully into it. I kept this colour scheme as minimal as possible to not distract from the theme slash gimmick here. The Korra Ushu Noble animation set has some sass, and the Marilina Saindana leans into that aquatic theme. For a while I was using the Rakam helm for this look, but wasn't the biggest fan as the metallic didn't colour correctly. but swapping to the Karakonos helmet was a good choice due to having a very similar metallic to the Prime skin. Either way, I think it's cute. She's out here living her best life, and I respect that. On to the absolute last fashion for the video, and that is Nova. This was one of my favourites. It is sleek and clean, and I love the Mithra skin so much. The metallics and the patterns combined with that glowing energy on the upper chest area has some amazing potential for fashion, I won't lie. I like to keep my Prime details turned off, as it adds a lot of weirdly placed bulk, as well as removing that energy well looking thing on the chest. Really isn't too much else to say here. It is simple, elegant, and sleek. I would, however, love to use the Riv mini set here, but again, I'm still working on getting that one. But that is all for today. Just a quick little video talking about fashion. Thank you all so much for watching. I am curious to see how well this video does in comparison to my usual content, since we all know fashion is the true endgame after all. I'd ask that you leave a like if you've enjoyed and subscribe to hear more from me, but alas, your viewership is always enough. And until next time, I will see you in the next one.